I think it's for some people it's more the concept of it that's difficult. Doing it, I think, is pretty easy. We showed last time with just a bit of materials and what they mean. Today we are going to actually do it. So let's create first a Polygon Cube. I will show you a few tools. The UV has millions of tools. I'm using this program for ages. I'm using about 3 of them. I never mess with. There's a lot of tools that you don't need. So let's just create a cube. Let's scale it a bit up and move it, let's say. So basically with the concept of the milk carton, yeah, we get it that we wrap it. What we're trying to do is actually the reason why we have this UVs, this UV map, it's only to tell us, it's going to tell the program where to put the colors, for example, or where to put the texture. Because for now we do have a color, we have this gray. If we want to, like we did last time, let's now assign to this a new color or a new material. The best way to do it would be to go open the hypershade. Let's open the hypershade, because this gives you a way to edit the material. Now the hypershade is very heavy. It's a program on its own. So if you're working on a computer that you know you're difficult with, open it, create the material, and then close it. Usually it takes as much memory as Maya does. Maya takes about 5 gig of memory every time you switch it on without even working. So like I said, we're going to start with, let's just create here in this section we have, these are the materials that exist in our scene. So we have Lambert 1, which is always present. This is the default material, which we shouldn't touch. It's everything that it creates is with that. Particle, cloud, and shader glow, nothing we need to even think about. It's some default materials. I don't even know what exactly that we need them for. So if we start with, we just create a new material, Blin. Once we created it here, we have the properties. It's the same as pressing Ctrl-A. And I'm going to call this box material. And press Enter. Another thing I'm going to do, just so I see that I dropped the material, I will click here on the color in the attributes. This could be either done in the hypershade, or if I will do Ctrl-A now, I will get the properties here. It's the same thing, Control Attributes. The only thing I'm going to touch is the color, and I will just make, I don't know, blue color. That's it. The last thing I would like to do, if you see this material got added here to our materials. Another thing, if you notice in this window, we have also textures. If we had textures, we have everything here, lights, cameras. Most of the time you only use the materials or maybe the textures when you'll have a lot of them inside. So once we create this material, everybody has a material. Okay, let's just middle mouse, drag and drop it on our box. And we should see that it changed color. Let's say I have a small screen. I should be able, with my mouse it's not, if you see, I'll show it here. I can zoom into the screen, I can move it around if I had something in there. So the same navigation that works here should work here. Let's say you have a smaller, you see that I get this arrow, I can zoom in, zoom out, in case you want to see the materials more clear. Okay, then once we drop this material here, let's close this. We don't, so it takes less power. So the concept of UVs, and we said it last time, is basically every face here of this cube. Let's say I would want to have here a blue color, here a yellow color, here a green. I need to know, Maya needs to know how to put this information on top. I can also create 5 different materials and drop a material on every face and solve the problem. But then I have 5 materials for one cube. What if I want to do it with one material? Or I want to put a texture, for example, this is going to be a top of the box later, or another. So we have, like we saw last time, the UV editor, where we see our UVs. If I will go here, UV editor, I get this original UVs that the box was created, which look quite fine, but we're going to do something else. Now, every time we do UVs, I would just recommend, this is the easiest way, UV automatic. So let's click that. And notice what happened here. There are projections. Basically, every time the the computer is projecting like a camera that's projecting from each side. It's trying to map. And each projection, if you see, if I hold the faces and I'm looking at the same time here, up. You see, if I mark a face, this one highlights this side. Hope you see it. If I mark another face, I can see exactly where it is on this 2D map. The bottom face would be the middle one in this case. Yeah. And so forth. You can see the faces when you're clicking, so you see them shining here. Now, when I did automatic mapping, it separated everything. All those faces are now separate units. They're broken up. We do want them to be connected, and that's what we're going to learn to do today. But and why and how we need to do that. So we're starting with a basic example, then we'll go with another. Another thing here, if you notice, I use the automatic mapping. There is cylindrical, planar, spherical. There are a few types, camera-based. I would recommend all the time to start this system automatic or planar. Planar is when you choose exactly which one you want. Let's say you grab the character's face and you just project on the front. But the automatic mapping does great. I don't think you need much more than that. Yeah, it's to start. So there's a lot of other ideas. Even if you have the cylindrical means if you want to wrap around the cylinder, the spherical around the sphere. Again, we will see. So we all have this. Now if I go on top and let's start from the top. What we want to do is actually make this connected as much as possible. And that makes sense, like as if something wraps it from the top, as if we took a piece of paper and wrapped around. So I would first select this face, and then and I know which one is, let's say select the top face, and mark it where it's here. So I know this one is this face. And then I'm moving to this window. I don't even need to look. And I can select it here and right-click shell. And then click it, and you will get, and press W for transform tool. Okay, let's do this again. Another way to do it. What I'm trying to do is grab this whole piece that I know is the top and just move it out of the way to the side. So I have a clear space. I hope you see it here. No, okay. Another way to do it. If I click on the face, if I'm here, right click, and then you get this browser and change to face mode, and then just click on it. Okay, and then press W for the move tool. No, not working? Okay, another way. Right click and go to UV. Maybe on your computers it's a bit slower. So when you went on UV, you see there's this like vertices, but they're not vertices. I will just select one and I'm clicking on it. This works for you? On one, yeah. Let's say I have this one selected. I can zoom into it. Once I have this selected, I will do Shift, right-click, no, sorry, Control right-click to shell. So a shell is basically all the edges that are connected in one UV. So to shell, it's the same as it selected the face. Now it's selected all four of them. To shell, yeah. Shell will grab everything that is in the same unit. We're going to make shells. We're going to separate our model into different parts that are combined, and then that's how we make the map. Once you have this, press W for the move tool, or click here on the side for the move tool. Okay, and then let's move it. I would move it to this side and zoom a little bit out so I can see. Okay. Tell me when you have this selected. Now also this workflow of starting from the top down is a good workflow for UVs. It's you'll see the more we'll do, because what I'm going to try to do now, I know I have this face and I have it here as a UV map. They're two separate things. This is one thing, this is a model, this is a UV map. Now I would like to connect this face to this edge because they're sharing the same edge. So what I can do now is if I will go back here and I'm right clicking to get this thing and I'm pressing face. You can also use the modeling toolkit. It's whatever is comfortable for you, and click here for faces. And I'm trying to locate which is this face. And I see it's this one here. Yeah. So I would like now to combine these two together. Now, how do I do this? I will go back to the UV. I know it's this one. I don't even need to move it. I can just right-click here, edges. Now we're moving to edges. And notice every time I click on an edge, it shows me which one it's combining. You see, I have two of them connected. So if I click on this one, it's this top one. If I click on this one, I see it's that one that I showed. It's this. You have this edges? Okay. I'm going to select this edge, and I see two of them get highlighted. And then we can do it a few ways. I never use the menu, so let's not use the menu. Shift, right-click, and the top one, move and saw UVs. Okay, and then you just let it go, and you see it brought this to here. It disappeared from here, right? I will have to move it back. I should have maybe done it. So if I select this edge, shift, move, and saw UVs. Wait, sorry again. This edge we said here. This edge is this one. I'm selecting this edge from the inside the square. Shift, move, and saw UVs. It still brings it there. Okay. It moved for you, the square?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Also for you too? No. Let me check. I'll undo this. So again, what I'm trying to do is like a flower. I'm going to wrap this around, and I'm starting from the top, and I'm selecting I'm looking at which edge. So this one combines with this one with that one, and so forth. So the only thing we need to do is be on edges, select the edge that you want to combine. We figured out it's this one. And then shift, right-click, move, saw UVs. You see here, move and saw UV edges. It's the same thing. So you can also go here to polygons, move and saw UVs. The thing is, you see there's tons of buttons here. We're not going to use any of them. We're basically going to use two commands from this window, and I'm working with Maya for years, and that's what I use. The rest are just more fancy. I mean, there are uses for them, but you can do everything. Once we did it, what happened is that this popped back into the line. If I will click, and I know it's this square, if I will click on UV, so again, right-click UV, and I will select this point, which I know is now connected, so the bottom point from this one, and again, shift and, control this time, and to shell. So the shell selected me everything that's combined together. And I will move this now to the side, and you see I have two squares that are combined together. It's basically this one and this one. They're already stitched together. Before, when I selected one point and said move to shell, it selected me only one square. Now these squares are merged, melted together. They're the same idea. This worked? And now we're going to do the second. So what we saw is that this one, and this is the trick with the UVs, is to think where should things be connected. So now I have this face and this face connected. This face, I want to connect it. I won't connect it to this line. I will connect it only to this line. Because if I will go now to faces, I'm going to try to wrap this. This is the top. I'm coming from one direction, the top or the bottom, and I'm combining everything to create this kind of wrap around it. So if I check now, where is this face? This is this face. I can just see where it is. It's this one. It works, or? Yeah. And then I will go edge again, the same procedure, and I'm selecting this edge, and I already see this edge and this edge are the same. They're combined. They're going to merge together. And the same trick now, once this edge is selected, it doesn't matter I selected it here. It should work also here. I will go, this time I'll do it like this. Polygons, move and saw UV edges. And you see it combined to this side here. Okay? We're starting with a very simple example of a cube, but this is the same applies to if you do a human face, a church, or whatever, it's the same idea. If we'll go with the church, we will probably go from the top to the bottom and have to create seams. Now, what is a seam? A seam is how do you say, Like when you make shirts or blecha, you have a seam everywhere. These lines are the seam. One point will never connect. Because now, let's say if I connect these two, you see this one is actually connected to here. It will destroy my UVs will become tilted. It's not a square anymore. I'll have stretching. I don't want to have stretching. And stretching, what it means, I can show you. If we click this button here, you see this checkerboard? So this checkerboard gives me an example of where things are. Wait, I will just... it's a bit buggy on my screen now, so I don't know how you see it at yours, but this is more the side, because it's outside the square. This should be inside here. I will click this off, and I will do this at the end, so we'll get an example of what's happening. So switch this back off. For now, I jumped too fast. Now we're continuing next, and I'm going to go now and select this edge, the opposite side. So you see I can just select it in this window, and then I will do Shift, Move and Saw UVs. This is combined as well. More important here is to understand the concept in these tools. I actually very much like UVs because it's like meditation. It's the same work all the time, and you'll see later on what kind of puzzle we have to do with this, which is more the fun part. So try to get this, well, whatever, upside down plus. We have this? Yeah. Okay, so now the last one, and I can also do it from here. I don't actually need to look where they come from. I did it just to illustrate. I can just go edges, click on this edge, and then either here or Shift, Move, and Saw UVs, and I get this plus now. But now we have a problem. So let's try to get to this plus. If I see this plus, if I will select now the faces, just to show where they all are, these are basically all the faces except this bottom one. That's pretty much what you should have. Now, in this case, where would you connect this last face? If you think, again, I'm trying to get this idea of we're coming from the top, and we wrapped on top of it, and it's like the last one should be on the bottom. It's as if you get a gift and you open it. So if I look at where the bottom is, and I say it's this face, and I will go edges, I can select this edge, you see I get this side. Basically, all those edges would connect to it, but we like the idea of being connected to, let's say, this side. So we get a cross out of it. So either the top or the bottom. So you can also select it here, and actually all four of them would work. All four of them would connect, it'll be fine. It's just, I want it to be laid up straight so I can paint it in Photoshop, it's easier. I can always afterwards rotate it. So I select the last edge and I go Shift, Move and Saw UVs. I get a cross. So let's get to that stage. We have it? Yeah. Okay, cool. Now the last thing, you see that I have one space that is for the UVs and the rest is not so, it's just repeating. Because basically this square repeats and repeats. This is the only space we have to fit all this thing inside here. Now, lucky for us, if I go back to, I'll go back here and go back to object mode. So I want to put this one. I can go, okay, let's do it like this. I can go here, UV. I'm marquee select all the UVs. I can go here and try to stick it inside. And I can use the same tools in Maya, move, scale, and put it like this. And I want to try to get the maximum. But an even faster way to do this, and it always works, is if you click on, I think this guy. No. By the way, this button is moving, this is the same as move and saw UVs. You can do the same here by clicking this button. We want to now, you see this arrangement here? If I click this button, it fitted automatically the best it understands. Maya is trying to say, okay, I want to fit it in this box. This is the best way I can do. So actually, this is perfect. I don't need anything else, right? This is done. I have UVs made for this box. But Now, the secret with UVs, now we took a very simple model, so we had it quite easy. But let's say I had now this box, and on top of it there were pillars, and there was a character, and all this I want to fit on one map. Now, one thing to understand about those maps, a bit technical. This is a Photoshop image. It's a square image that goes. Now, all the space that the models are not on it are going to waste. It's as if throwing them away. Now, what we have here is one shell. If I click on one UV and I will go Control to shell, you see it selected the whole cross because now all these objects is together. But we will see that, let's say, some objects we break them into a few shells because it's more comfortable or it's too complicated to create a seam, so you'll have a few objects. The secret with UVs is afterwards to fit them all in the most optimal way, so I won't have any spaces lost. Let's say here, even in this example, I'm seeing it works fine, but wait, I'm wasting all this space is wasted for the computer. The computer takes processing power, every image is memory, so I'm just wasting space. What I could do, let's say if I said this is the only thing I need to UV, now I like it because it's all combined, but I could also say, you know what, this is the one that's blocking me. If I would scale all this up, this cross, and then I would stick the cube in between, I will use more of the space. So I can always, after we stitch them together, I can also select this edge. And you should have, again, this is the last command in this one, I think. Shift. The same as we have move and saw UVs, we have cut UVs. When I do cut UVs, I actually split this part. It stays in the same location, nothing changed, but I split it. It's now, we did exactly the opposite of what before we combined it, now we split it. And I can check this by going to UV, selecting this UV, and again, Control to shell. And you see now it didn't select the whole cross, it selected only this square. So I now separated it. What will happen if I will let the computer automatically try to fit it in? Clicking this button. This is the button that fits it in. It says no way. I need to select them first or change mode. You see that it grew. Now it's a lot bigger. So this is why, because I did this and I separated it now, you see this is the square here, now this space became bigger. And what we need to understand with this space is that this is a picture. Let's say 1,000 pixels by 1,000 pixels. If I have here, I have a sharper texture, more information in the texture. If I did it like before, it will be less resolution. So the same as you have a HD on your TV or this, we are trying to get the maximum resolution out, so I can have here an image with a bigger size. And so this UV will be more optimized for the space, but it would be, we separated the bottom part for this. So this is the puzzle. So far we're okay? Okay. Now let's do something more. I'm bringing this back to how it was, so I'm going to select this edge again. And I'm going to do, again, move and saw UVs. I can just click here. I think this is, yeah, move UV shell. Where's the move and saw? Okay, I can do it polygons, move and saw UVs. It connected it back here. And then I will just do optimize again from Maya to see. If it doesn't work, it means that you're in some kind of mode. We need to be, let's say, in object mode. And then we click here again. And it fitted. So you saw the squares became smaller, less resolution. But okay, we have one UV map. Let's press on this checkered, what we tried before. And as you can see, I see the squares. This is just to let me know how the texture. Now, basically, this map gives me a position for everything is position where I can put colors or drawings or later on whatever I want. It gives information where to place it on the 3D model. We converted the 3D model to a 2D model, and everything looks great. Now, there's another term that we need to know, and it's called, and I will show it now. Let's all go back to UV. We can leave this checkered on. And let's just select, very hard to see, but let's select this UV on the top. Which is actually on the bottom. Yeah, doesn't matter. We'll look at it this way. We have this selected. Okay. Let's now move it a bit. And you see what happens. I'm moving it here, and you notice what happens to my texture. Here it's beautiful squares, and that's how it should be. And here it's stretched. It's basically I stretch it. It doesn't fit correct. You see when I move it, so before we had it perfectly. Now it's ruined. It's stretched. So this is just something to know, because what will happen is, let's say if I had here a picture of wood, the wood would look right here, and here it would look like it's smudged or stretched. So we're back to the same point. Just wanted to show the stretching. We will see it again. What happens now? Let's select this object. We can close this window for now. And you see when I close it, it's back to blue. I don't see this previews of the cubes. Now let's select this face. So I'm right-clicking to get this bar, select face. I can also just click here for faces, and I'm selecting the bottom face this time. And I'm going to do now extrude. Let's say we're going to make this into a robot, the head of a robot. So I'm going to do extrude. Once I did extrude, I will click on the scale tool and scale it in. So I'm going to try to create a neck for our guy. I might also lower him a little bit down. And then once you do that, just do another extrude to pull out down the neck. Let's say this is our neck. We will continue with the modeling. Okay, so now we have this neck. I can go back to object mode. I'm all happy. What happens if I click on the UV editor? Because I'm the only one all happy. I click back on the UV editor and I select this object. And if you notice here, I actually have, you see this checkerboard I put is tilted here. Here it's fine. There are different scaling. It doesn't look that bad actually. But let's try to see how the UVs look like for this thing. So I can again select the faces. Let's select this one. And barely, I don't see any of them, actually pretty much. I can even turn this off so it'll be easier to see. You see, I only see these guys that are made. If I click on this one, it's nowhere. There is no UVs actually. It's just a line, right? Now what I can do before is, again, I will click here UV, select this one, and I will go to shell. Again, I want to move it out of the way, so I'm just moving it to the side. I know this part I did, and I'm happy with it. Now I have a problem with the rest of the parts. Now, another thing that the UVs are also excellent and help you a lot in selections. And you'll see how I will use the UVs now to select the rest of the part. If I turn, we all moved it to the side? Okay. If I turn this now to faces, and I will go here and actually select with a marquee all the faces. I selected everything. And now I don't want, those I know are good. The cube I have on top is a good one. So I will just now unselect it. Aha, this is the part. You see, I selected now only the cube on top. Now the bottom one, it's here. It's this one. You see, it was moved down. We have all those are missing. So I can just use this to select from here the faces. And since I have these faces selected, if I will shift select everything, it will invert my selection. So what I did is basically, because I know this is good, I want to select the rest of the parts. Now I can also manually select them, or with the marquee select. I can also just go here and that will work just fine. If I will do these selections, usually you should do in orthographic, not so much in. But I can also just marquee select the bottom. I got the same result pretty much. But you see here by mistake I selected this and also this. So if we have the only thing we need now is to select all these other new faces that we created with the extrude, right? Now I'm going to go again, UV, automatic. And it did it to only the parts that I selected. So that's why I selected them. It only did the projections for these parts. Otherwise, it would do everything again, and I don't want that. So what you should get now is this plus sign, and then the rest of them are all here. Okay. We need to now think, how do we connect these two to have a smooth map for everything? I want to have a map that goes, I could do like I did before, and connect. And if you see this square here with triangles, this is this part. Wait, I'll click outside so we don't see these projections anymore. So I have this as UV'd, it's like a plus. Basically we have this one, and I open them up like a flower on top of it. Yeah. Now I can do the same thing and start from the bottom here and connect everything. But I need to think which is the last place. At the end I will always have a part that doesn't fit, that I cannot lock in. In the other case we had the bottom part that was just connected to one side, 3 sides were not connected. In this case, I would want to see, I can actually say, wait, I can connect this to this, and then I can connect this to here. I can continue this chain like this chain like this one like this. The same as we did from top to bottom, have it as one go. But I have a little problem, because if I will go here, edge, and select this edge, for example, where I want to connect the rest to it, and if I will do now, move and saw UVs, so polygons, move and saw UVs, look what happened. I have this thing with a whole square around. I don't want that. I actually want every triangle and separated. So I will undo this, and I will first, because I see this is already combined. How we did the projection, this one is all combined. I don't want it to combine. I want to separate it. So let's just select this edge. If I press Q, I get rid of the marker, because sometimes it disturbs you to click on things. I'm selecting this edge, and this edge. So I got all those 4 corners. And I will do Shift, cut UVs. Basically, I'm separating them. You see now when I do to shell, I separated this piece. So in this case, when I will do this now, I will take the same edge, the same as we did before, and I will do, so I'm selecting the edge here. I can also select it on the map. It's not a problem, I can select this one. And I will do move and saw UVs. Now you see it only connected this guy. You see I got this stretched. This is wrong, yeah? This is not, doesn't look right. Now the reason is our scaling wasn't correct, and maybe the easiest way to show this, I'm gonna undo this, is if I put back the checkered. I don't know why I have a problem with my graphic card. And this is why you have this checkered. If you look at the squares here and the squares here, they're not the same. They're not the same scale. They should all be the same scale if we want it to be even. We can do cheats with it, but... So these ones are smaller. There's something proportionally wrong with those two. I will take this UV and select, I can also select all the UVs here, like this, and I'll move it down, and I know that this size, this length should fit with this. So this point and this point should be at the same place, and this point and this point should be, and then I'll be in the same proportions. So all I'm doing is, even by eye, I'm going to scale it up till I see that it fits together. I don't have to be super exact here. We will fix it all. So I'm going to now do it in the same way as we did before. I'm going to right, I don't even need to look at this part. I'm going to right click edge, select, let's say, this edge, and then I can do polygons, move and saw UV edges. And it just connected me. So I would just to go around, and this one, the same thing. By the way, if you want to do G, will repeat the last command you did. So if I press G now, you see it connected. I don't need to do again shift or move and saw UVs. I just click on this one, click G, this one, click G. That's sped me up quite a lot, yeah? So I did first of this, it's now the red cross we have. Now I'll click on the next edge that I see is connected, and I'll press G. It connects to here, G, G, and G. We have all of them now. You see we have this nice plus or whatever, and we're just missing one edge, the bottom again. So now actually everything is nice and smoothly connected except this part. And this part, I would just choose where I want to have it connected. It doesn't matter. It can be here, here. I do want it to be connected one way. Maybe since this is going to be my character, I would say in the front, it should be connected, for example, because I want them to see. And then I would just select here and G again, and it's connected. So you should get something like this. You can also, it's not so important, you can also do it from the bottom, G again, and it's connected. So it's all the same. And then we got this more interesting cross. But the idea is that I'm wrapping it from top to bottom. I'm opening this box. I think this example gives a nice sense of it, how it opens and closes. You will see it's more complicated with other characters, but this is the principle. Once you get this, it's always the same. And then let's say I am now pretty much happy with this. And I will just click back to object mode. And I will click again the arrange into space. And then it fits me into the UV map. So you get it like this. Now I'm not worried about losing all this space here because I know that it's going to be a lot more parts to this model and I'm going to put some parts here or here. But sometimes the trick would be afterwards this puzzle, fitting everything together. So you can afterwards say, you know what, this is all the model, but now I want to make this everything bigger so I have more resolution. So I will cut the model here, scale it up or cut it here because it's too stretched, or break it into parts to fit more. I could also say, maybe with this one, I'll just do it, you don't need to do this example. Edge, I can say, okay, this is what's giving me the problem. So I'm going to select all these edges, also this one, and I will do cut UVs. So basically what I did is now I separated them. If I would press the fit, you don't need to do it, but if I would press the fit together, you see now it fits more. And I could start manually to try to get more of them in. But then I lost the connections. I have some parts that will be... So it's very much specific to every model you'll make. If this was my character, and I say I don't mind breaking those edges because it's sharp corners, great, I can break it up, have more space. If I want to have a drawing of the eye and the eye goes around, I will have to have it connected. So every model is very individual. It's very much... Let's say when we'll do the church, we will want to do the walls. And then some parts you will see in the front of the walls, the back of the walls you won't see, you don't care. Or inside the windows, that's where we will choose not to connect them. And I'm going to go now undo. Am I undoing? Since I have now, this is called a shell. A shell is one thing that's connected together. I have now one shell. Usually when you do UVs in the church, when we'll do Sveti Duh, we're going to have like 5 shells. One for the windows, one for the rooftop, one for the church tower. And we will choose where to connect them or disconnect them where nobody sees them. So it could be in exactly the point where the roof meets. If nobody sees that, or we have another model on top, we can do that there easily. So it's all the time trying to think how to connect them. Now I showed all the time automatic way of doing it, which is actually pretty much the workflow. Nobody, you know, like let's say even to fit it, I always do it. Now, unless you really want something custom, and you can say, I can even go like this. I can say now I want to trust my own UV, and I will do edge. I selected these two. I'm doing cut, shift, cut UVs, and now I will select this with just one, and sorry, to shell. To shell will just disconnect me this one. Oh, I did a mistake. This was supposed to be connected. Okay, now the same thing. UV, I select one, and I go, sorry, to shell. And that's my shell, basically this whole part. And this way I can say, okay, if I'll do this, I can now scale everything. Now when you're scaling things, you should scale them proportionally. So it doesn't matter if something outside, I would scale everything together, so it's all proportionate. Otherwise, if I will just scale this part, it will go, because I see I have more space here, so I can actually scale this a bit bigger, move it in here. Now I'm too big, for example, I will scale it down. So I'm trying to fit it, this is what the automatic thing did for me. I'm trying to fit it in the biggest scale I can to use as much space as possible. So let's say I did something like this. Now notice I'm also scaling this at the same time because I don't want to lose the proportions. And what I mean by proportions, we would look at it again. If we look at everything now looks the same proportions. If I will go now and scale only this one, let's see where it is. It'd be good to preview it. Here it is. So if you see, if I'm scaling this, they're tiny, or I can scale it. So the squares here are way bigger. Now that's why we have those squares, because we can match by eye, and a lot of times it's enough to do it by eye to say, okay, I'm going to scale this here till I get to the right. And because I can join this line, so let's say something around there is pretty much the same. But this UV is perfect. It already works. Now questions about optimizing, using it better, it's a different story. But this UV is already great. I will just go back to the same UV as you have, so we can continue the same way. I'm just undoing. Yeah. I think it depends on you. If you go here, good question. If you go here, you have the undo. I think 50 times actually. But you see this little running guy here with a cog here in the corner? This is your settings, the program settings. So if I click on this, I get all the settings for all of the Maya. What's the centimeters, how long is this? So here I can change, and it's broken down. If I go to my undo, which is here towards the bottom, you see I have here undo is 50 times. I have undo. You can also say infinite. That means forever. It won't change. The problem with this undo, it really keeps memory, and then it can stall the computer. The solution we have for this, I'm not changing mine, I like this finite 50. What we can do is, before we move to actually draw a map on it, I will just show few more tools which are relevant for us. Let's first look at this. These are not so important to see, it's just you have, okay. You have these two buttons that color your UV. Here it's a bit hard to see because of the colors. Now what this does, it tells me if there is overlapping. So if one UV, you see mine is perfect now. If you click on this one, you should have this clear blue. What overlapping means, and I'll just show it, if I take this UV and push it into here, it means one UV is sitting on top of another, which is not good in our case. Sometimes in computer gaming, that's exactly what they do. Let's say we have the Sveti church on one side of the wall, and the other wall we want to save space, so we're gonna put them on top of each other. And now let's say we are done with this UV map. We want to now export it out into Photoshop so we can actually put a picture on top of it. So we all have something like this? Okay. Then I will just go back to object mode. Make sure you went back to object mode. Because if you do it in face mode, it won't save. It will tell you that it did, but it won't. Always also, all the time in Maya, look at the bottom line here if it's red or gives you some errors. Here you have the error. And we need to be in the UV editor, polygons, UV snapshot. It's the last one. And here you have where you're going to save it. This is here. It should go by default to the project that we're working on. So I'm working on Sveti Duh MDL. It goes to my images. And here is the name. And I will call it Robot Head MDL. Or a box, doesn't matter. I'm just inventing a name. Now the sizes. That's also important. This means this is my texture size. The texture size is always multiple of 2. It's just that the program, the computer knows how to read this, handle this better. Don't know exactly why, but that's how he likes it. And we need either 256, 512, 1024, 248, or 4096. Even if I'm going here for render or for an engine, I would still do it in bigger resolution. And then scale. It's always easy for me in Photoshop to have a texture which is 2K, and then save it as 512 if I want to save memory. I cannot do the opposite way. If I painted my texture in very low resolution, that's what I have. So I rather always have a bigger resolution, but I think for our sense, let's change this 1024 to 2048. This 2048 means a 2K texture. Okay, this is also important. Keep aspect ratio, anti-aliasing, image format Maya IFF, which is great. You can also have different formats. We don't really need to touch anything else here. So now if you won't have Photoshop, we'll just show this quickly. So I do OK. And I need to see this saved file users. Everybody got this line? Not a red line. If you get a red line, it didn't save. And that's it. I get the image. And it's very hard to see now, because if you see, I have this line. I don't know if you can see it even. I'll zoom in. You see the lines? It's on alpha channel. That's why I can barely see them. But in order, now I don't know with the knowledge of the Photoshop, I'm just going to create another layer underneath. I'll make a new layer here. This will be, and I'll move it below it, and I will paint this layer, I think, black. Because I think it's white, or the opposite, you know, white. Yeah. Now I'm going to create another layer. I don't want to draw on this, and in Photoshop, if you know, you always work layers, 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 so you don't affect everything else. I will create now a new layer, and just for the exercise, I will now use my drawing tool. I can also open Maya to kind of see where I'm at, and if I want to say, okay, this is my robot, this is going to be his face, right? I will need to see where it is. I can open the UV editor, and I see this is this cube. Just to start. There is also a way to paint these things and mark them in Maya and then bring them over, but you can have both programs open. So I made a new layer. I'm just going to mark it with, let's color this. And I'll make him some eyes for now. Or this. I can take pictures from the web or images just to show the idea. And then if I made him eyes, I will also draw him some hair, very rough. Then we'll put pictures. I just want to see how it goes. And okay, and I guess this is his neck. Let's give him a tie. So I don't know. I'm just improvising this one. Okay, he's got a tie. And then let's say I'm done. I'm happy with this UV. We will add more images. I don't need this thing. Since I'm in the middle of the work, I could have it. I can also hide this thing and have it just like this. Maybe we can also do something else, and it's color some parts just to see where they are. Let's change this color. Let's do red. I'm going to do here 1, 2, 3, line, line. So I'm just trying to mark myself so I'll see in 3D what happened. And then I'm done. I'm happy with this texture for now. I'm hiding this part. And I will do now File, Save As. And here I can just go JPEG or FPSD file or however I want. I'm going to call this JPEG. Now notice this is our texture, so it doesn't go to images, it goes to source images. And in source images, I'm going to give it a robot head MDL or robot head texture. In high quality, of course. Great. And I'm leaving actually Photoshop on. I'm back to Maya. So since you guys don't have the Photoshop, I'm just showing it. It doesn't have to be Photoshop. It can be Painter. It can be any open source software. It's all the same. Now, if I want to connect this texture to this model, what would I need to do? I would need to go select my model, Control-A to get the attributes. Now, sometimes when you open the attributes, you don't see where the material properties. It's always the last one. If you have a lot of history, it will be all here. Here is box material. The color we put is here. This time we're overriding the color. We're going to connect something to here. So it's a network, yeah? And we're going to click on this checkered, the same as I showed a bit last time. I'm going to click on this checkered. and then this create render node. So we're creating another object in our chain, and I'm going to say this time it's not a checkered, it's a file. So this is a file. We're connecting a file. I click this. If you have other images, you can put, meanwhile, just to follow the process and just put some image there. But I'll click file. Everything is empty, but I get here the file where I need to connect it. When you click here on the tab, it should take me exactly to the source images in my project, which it does. And I think that's it. No, here it is. Okay. So it shows me already a preview when I connect the thing, and I'll open. Now I still don't see anything in Maya, and the reason is I need to be on texture mode. So remember, if we said 4 is wireframe, 6 is texture mode, and here we go. So as you can see, I have my image here put on top. Now of course this won't be this bit silly drawing that I made. It can be much nicer, and for the last example before I'll quit the Photoshop is we will add some photo. So you see I have this robot head image here. I will bring back this grid that shows me where it was, and then I will move this guy. Again, now Photoshop is an amazing program, has tons of tools, so I need to fit this even nicer. I need to scale it, edit, transform. So you can see I have my picture here done. So this is actually very nice. I can put here a lot of this. Now, of course, I'm doing a silly robot. We were going to do a church or a building with walls. So we're going to have to prepare this. But the main work, let's say in 3D, is this UV mapping. So it's work in this editor. And you see here, it's already nice. I can see this image. So I can actually also do, and what I meant by overlap, just a little bit more, and then we'll take a small pause and I'll show something else. I can just take this part, this is the main tools you need to know to automatic mapping, move and saw UVs, cut UVs, and that's pretty much it. So if I do here now, cut UVs, I separated this guy, and I can now select this UV point, shift, command to shell or control to shell, and I can move this out of the way. Notice I have the same tools. I can press E and rotate it. I have here some more tools to rotate. This flip, this is to rotate more accurately, and this goes. And what I can do is also like a puzzle. I can put this, now it's overlapping, what we shouldn't have, but I can put this on the same image, and we should see another guy's face here. So I'm putting the same image over and over. This is good for, let's say, if you're, most of the computer games you see or films and this, they do use overlapping to save time. With our apps, what we're going to build, we're going to try to keep it separate.